Here we go. Casemiro to Manchester United. It's a matter of minutes, maybe hours away from being announced. So we thought, why not get the top tier of Twitter when it comes to La Liga on with us today to play a profile Casemiro. It's Rafael Hernández. How are you doing, pal?
I'm great, thank you. And yeah, it's a little bit tricky to be speaking about a Real Madrid player being a Barca fan, but I will try to be as objectively as possible.
Yeah, I mean, self-proclaimed the biggest Barcelona influencer in English. I mean, you've got that in your bio as well. I mean, if you don't have Twitter, if you don't see tweets in the footballing world about La Liga from yourself, I think, Rafael. So ultimately, I think, yeah, of course you're a Barcelona fan, but you also do spread some really good knowledge on La Liga, which is why I think talking to you about Casemiro, we get to have a bit more of an unbiased look at him, I suppose, because Madridsters and Madrid fans love him. They absolutely love him. And I think European football fans also rank him up there amongst the best defensive midfielders in Europe, probably over the last 5 to 6 years. So I think hearing from yourself, your background, and I think we're just going to get a good take. And plus, obviously, I can pitch in with my thoughts. Now, this show came from me and Rafael having a chat on Twitter. So I really appreciate him coming on and having a chat. And I suppose we'll start with this, Rafael. You put it out the other day. And I think this was more a dig at Barcelona, wasn't it? And the way that they sort of run their transfers and the club versus how Madrid are sort of doing business. In terms of, you said Madrid getting top dollar for a player in decline, influencing Casemiro. So tell me, what have you seen from Casemiro over the past, let's say, 12 months?
Yeah, so just to get this out of the way, yeah, I do think that Casemiro has been one of the top performers in terms of defensive midfielders in Europe over the past 5 to 6 years. If not the best, I think there is enough of an argument that he was definitely the best defensive midfielder in the Champions League over the past 5 years. Of that, I have no doubt. So it's the most challenging and most demanding competition in the world. So that's absolutely undeniable. And of course, he is still world class. I'm not going to take that from him. Absolutely not. But what I meant in terms of declining is that over the past year, I would say over the past 2 years, Casemiro hasn't been the same as he was before, because we have seen a certain drop in form for him. I would say, especially over the past season. He actually struggled against PSG in the Champions League. He struggled against Chelsea too, when Chelsea were leading by 3 goals, and he struggled against Manchester City too. So there are some signs that Real Madrid would be wise to let go of him at the right time, in the same way that they have done to other of their legends like Varane and Cristiano. So yeah, it's a bit of a tricky decision for Real Madrid, but overall I see why they're doing, because right now they have basically 2 of the highest rated midfielders, young midfielders in the world that he's recently signed for them, right? Camavinga and Tchouaméni. So there is reason enough for Real Madrid to let him go. But I would say that anyone should ask themselves, why is Real Madrid actually willing to let him go so easily? Because this saga has been wrapped up in like 3 to 4 days, which is absolutely incredible for such a crazy transfer window that we are having.
Devil's advocate a bit, Rafael. It seems like he did go to, whatever story you want to believe, he did go to Ancelotti and say, look, if the deal does come through, I want to go. And Real Madrid are receptive of letting him go, as you said, with the young players there. So in some ways, obviously, the deal can only move as quick as the agents and the players want for a move, right?
Yes, absolutely. And when a player does not want to move, we know what happens. Frankie De Jong happens.
Yeah. Still having nightmares. I'm still having nightmares. Well, look, on Casemiro, I will say I'm with you. I'm with you on what you say in terms of some of those Champions League performances. I've got to be honest. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm a self-proclaimed, avid watcher of every single game in European football. But I did see him against City. I think was it the second leg? Because he didn't play the first. The second leg.
He did.
And I remember watching that game, and I've even put a tweet out. Someone can go and have a look at it if they really want to go back in my tweets. My memories of that game and the midfield battle wasn't actually Casemiro. It was actually that I remember Toni Kroos having a stinker that day. And it's not normal for Toni Kroos to have a stinker. Still, somehow, obviously, Madrid with the final minutes managed to get themselves through it. But I remember looking back at that game, thinking to myself, like, Madrid have just lost the midfield battle completely here. Kroos was poor. I'm pretty sure it was Modric in there as well. He didn't have the best of game. And Casemiro, as you say, didn't have the best game. Then fast forward into the Champions League final, which, again, a game that I watched against Liverpool. He was arguably the second best player on the pitch that night.
I agree on that.
Outstanding. So, yeah, I mean, it's weird, isn't it? You can pick out some performances. And in terms of La Liga, I mean, I don't think he performed too badly in La Liga, looking at the teams of the season and what people are saying. I mean, Madrid also went on, obviously, to pick up their first La Liga in ages. I suppose it depends, doesn't it, Rafael, how you analyse him. I suppose for United fans, how we're analysing him at the moment is, yes, he's 30, but with the position he's in, potentially you need to have a certain way of reading the game. And that's one of his strengths, right? That's what he has got. He is a defensive midfielder. He's not a progressive midfielder like De Jong. He's a defensive midfielder. And ultimately, if his job's going to be to go in there and shield that back line, he can have longevity about him, right? He's a fit lad by the looks of it.
Yes, I agree on that. And one thing that I just realized is that Casemiro is just basically going to arrive at Manchester United and join Varane and Ronaldo into Colin Maguire, his captain. So, yeah, that's a little bit awkward if you ask me.
How do you think he will get on with, so to speak, what you've seen in terms of the mess that is United on the pitch at the moment? Is he a leader? Is he someone who will go in there and push his teammates to do more?
Yeah, I wouldn't call him a leader at all, but he is the kind of footballer that I always appreciate, in the sense that he is there to do his work and he's going to do his best all the time to perform at his best. So this is the kind of example that I think Manchester United are in the midfield department.
Yeah, I said there about him being a defensive midfielder. You say that he's in there to do his work, to do his job. How would you specify his job? What is the job he does for Madrid?
Yeah, he is. I really don't like calling any kind of midfielder a destroyer, but he's the kind of midfielder that you can really call a destroyer. So he's going to go for the tackles, he's going to go for the tactical fouls, he's going to escape a lot of yellow cards, which is something that if he is really if you guys think that Fernandinho was really good at escaping yellow cards, you are going to be absolutely shocked at how good Casemiro is escaping yellow cards. He is just incredibly adept at that. So he's the kind of player that he is better without the ball than with the ball. But I think he is also the kind of player that Manchester United have been lacking. Absolutely. And he's obviously going to be an upgrade. So even if Casemiro does not deliver on the immense expectations that I'm sure Manchester United fans have for him, I think that he is still going to be a good signing. I don't think that he is going to be a failure. Absolutely not. I don't think it's possible for a player of his caliber to just arrive at Manchester United's midfield and be bad. I don't. That's humanly impossible. But one thing that I would advise any fans listening is to temper your expectations, because he is an absolutely fantastic player, but he's not the kind of player that could elevate Manchester United to another level. He's just the kind of player that could bring stability to a midfield that hasn't had any for years now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and does that surprise you that that's what Ten Hag is looking for? You're a Barcelona fan. He spent most of the window chasing after De Jong. Are you surprised that that's now the route he's gone down, or do you think with, so to speak, the signing of, and I'll get onto why I'm bringing this up in a second, with the signing of Martinez and how we've seen United be completely bullied, let's be honest, the first two games of the season, he sort of maybe is looking more for that Fabinho-type player that Klopp obviously turned to in his, second, third season at Liverpool?
Well, to be really honest, I don't think that Lisandro Martinez was all that bad in the first two Manchester United matches in the Premier League, especially the second match. I don't think that he was that bad at all, but it's exactly as you said. You need a player in front of the defense that can be relied upon So this is the one of the most important things in football especially over the past 20 years. So you need a player of his profile. He's going to be a huge help to the back line, and it absolutely helps that he already knows Varane. Absolutely. So I think it's key. It's key that he's going to bring something that Manchester United have really been lacking. And in terms of the fee, I don't think that he is that expensive because when you are seeing the like Premier League clubs like Chelsea offering 50 million for Anthony Gordon or Nottingham Forest actually signing Morgan Gibbs White for 45 million pounds or something. So he's really not an expensive signing. And let us be honest, Manchester United have all of the money in the world, so it's not a matter of. I think that how much he costs is simply irrelevant in the great scheme of things. So in terms of actually Ten Hag actually pursuing Frankie De Jong for months during this transfer window and then settling on Casemiro, they are absolutely different types of players. But I think that it's a mistake that Ten Hag made. I think he actually overestimated the capacity that Manchester United had to actually get the players that he wants. So I don't think this is. People are saying that it's Ten Hag's mistake to challenge Frankie for so long, but I really don't think that United would be pursuing the player if he hadn't been interested in a move. It really does not make sense. And I really don't think it's about money too. I think that the player just wants to stay at Barcelona.
Yeah, we'll come back on to De Jong actually in a moment. I just want to put out there about the Fabinho, so to speak, comparison, and whilst talking more about it, the destroyer comment that you made. And that's because, thinking back, and I put this out as a tweet, it didn't take Klopp long to realise that he needed a Fabinho to do a job for him in the Premier League that was different to how he previously utilised the defensive midfielder. He used to use more of a progressive defensive midfielder in the Bundesliga. He came to the Premier League. I can't remember who it was who he was playing now. I think he played Shelby there for a little bit, if I remember correctly. I can't quite remember. And then obviously he brought someone in a little bit more physical. And after the Brentford game, I put online, it wouldn't surprise me if Ten Hag has done the exact same U-turn as Klopp sort of made. Like, he knows how important it is to have a player that can complement Martinez and potentially even Maguire's weaknesses, but more Martinez's weaknesses. Now, that's not me trying to say that Martinez has been poor the first few games. No. But Martinez is a Ten Hag signing. He's not going to want to have signed Martinez to sit on the bench because of certain issues around potentially his physicality, his height, and his experience. Martinez is a Ten Hag signing. He wants him on the pitch. Casemiro is a perfect player to come in and do that job. And it's actually quite a smart move. And I mean, just little things like when it's a goal kick, Martinez can either drop back 5 yards, Casemiro can take his man, or he can move forward 5 yards and Casemiro can drop in. Like, they can interact and they can interchange. When Martinez has possession, Casemiro can sort of move out of the midfield line, pull players out with him to give Martinez space to progress the ball, because that's what he's good at. And then Ben Mee's goal, for example, if you've got Casemiro marking me in that situation, the ball's not going in the back of the net. There is issues around Martinez's height and physicality. There is, and there will be more, because the Premier League's a bit of a bulldog league. If you can have a midfield general in there to help complement your centre-back pairing, there's clever ways tactically that you can make them work together to A, help ball progression, but also B, help when it comes to making sure that Manchester United, who were the shortest team in the league last weekend, are able to compete with these clubs that basically just want to come out and have a dogfight with you. You won't lose it. When you've got a player like Casemiro in your side, in the heart of your midfield, you're not going to lose that. So to me, the signing makes sense. And, we'll come and talk about this later on, but I don't think United are done in the midfield department yet. I think if something miraculously happens, Rafael, with De Jong, I think United will still be in for him. I really do. I really think there will be. But as I said, something miraculous will have to happen for that. I think Casemiro is an opportunity move, and I think it's a good move. And like what you've just said there, the valuation, when you're looking at £50 million with potentially £7 million added on, I mean, I don't know what, I think that's 60 million euros up to 70, however that works, and then 300 grand a week, whatever it is in wages. For someone who's best in class, We remember Mourinho keeps saying this. United need to build a team. They need to start getting players who are best in class in their positions. Well, United have just gone and got one in Casemiro here. It's as simple as that, isn't it, Rafael?
Yes, exactly. I completely agree with that, and I think one thing that you didn't mention, but I'm sure you know too, is that De Gea is a big liability in the build-up. So De Gea basically needs to pass the ball to Martinez because he's an outstanding ball-playing center back. So it makes sense that Martinez could go forward and Casemiro sit back a little bit. And if you add Frankie next to Casemiro, then you could have something really special because Frankie, of course, I would say that his main quality is basically bringing the ball forward. So he would be absolutely exceptional for Manchester United. So overall, I think I basically agree with everything you say, and I think that he could really surprise us, and then we can actually go for possible drawbacks too, which is something that you mentioned before we started recording, and I completely agreed. Is that Casemiro is basically leaving a league that he's already used to. He's joining the most demanding league in the world by far, which is a Premier League. I would say that the tactical level, the technical level, and the overall quality of the entire league has been raised way above the other leagues, not only in terms of finances but everything. So I think it could be a lot more demanding of him week in, week out. And I know that this is kind of a cliche. I would say it was a cliche thing to say like 5 to 7 years ago, but not anymore. I think that the demands of the Premier League are way higher of La Liga overall nowadays. So I think he could struggle a little bit with that. And of course, he will be going to basically play in a setup that does not have Kroos and Modric too, so right by his side. It's basically a whole. It's like changing. It's basically revolutionizing the way that he actually plays to by going to another league. So I think this could actually affect him, but this is just speculation. We won't know until he's actually on pitch, and of course we know that Den Hag is absolutely incredible in terms of tactics. So I think that overall it's a gamble worth taking. I have absolutely nothing to say against Casemiro going to Manchester United, except that I think that the main interest of the player there by going to Manchester United is absolutely about money too, because he's going to earn, if we are to believe reports, almost double of what he earns at Real Madrid. So I don't think that this really matters to Manchester United. Again, they have the money. I don't think it's a problem if the player actually wants to play for them because of the money. I don't think it's an issue. So overall, I think it's a gamble worth taking, but I don't think it's a surefire guarantee that he's going to be a tremendous success. It's a matter of waiting and seeing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you mentioned about the money because I'm in two minds about. I totally get it as someone who's at the age of 29, 30, 31, that if a club comes to you and goes, come play for us, also come and have an experience in the biggest league in the world, and we're going to pay you handsomely for that. I totally get you turning around and saying to potentially even the European champions that this is going to be my final contract in football. You're not going to be able to match it. Plus, I get to go and say that I've played in the Premier League for Manchester. Like, do you know what I mean? I still think that there's some competitiveness in there, if you know what I mean. Like, that doesn't concern me as much, for example.
Yes, of course. Absolutely. I don't think that we can rule out that.
Yeah, like, I think some people have the opposite point of view, but I just think that's trying to dig for the negatives too much. I actually it's like in any job, right, Rafael? Like anyone can come to you and go, I could reach the age of 50 and end up in my last radio gig, and someone comes to me and go, I'll pay you handsomely, come and join me, I'll give you a 5-year contract. And of course I'm going to be like, yeah, okay, because that's where my career is going to sustain itself, and I know that I can sustain myself there, whereas here I don't have the same guarantee. So I think naturally, with the positions United and Madrid are in, I think for Casemiro as well, is he knows that he's going to be an important part of that United side for the next 4 years, at least, as long as he can play and he can keep himself in his prime. Whereas at Madrid, as you said, they've got a few younger players coming through. They've got some young players there who they've invested in that they're going to want to push through. and into the starting lineup. So I think for Casemiro, in some ways, it's a no-brainer for him, isn't it? Like, it's absolutely a no-brainer, not just from a financial point of view, but also from a footballing point of view. I just think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm in the same. I'm of the same mind as you said, because money is really important. We simply cannot deny that. Come on. So yeah, I think it's a solid decision. And of course, he has won everything for Real Madrid more than once too. So I don't think that he's going to come to the Premier League or to Manchester United and feel the pressure. I really don't think that can happen. So overall, I don't think that he has nothing to lose. He has only things to gain. So he's going to the Premier League. He's joining one of the biggest clubs in the world. Maybe he could play a key role into getting Manchester United back on track, which would make his career even better. So he has absolutely nothing to lose, and that's one thing that I saw some people commenting that maybe he would just join Manchester United and sit back and have a good time and barely apply himself to actually play well. But that really does not make sense, because he's a professional footballer. He wants to play the best, and of course the World Cup is coming. So I don't think that he's simply going to join Manchester United and laze around. That's absolutely impossible.
And let's face it, we talk about the World Cup, we talk about these other competitions, and Brazil in his country. He's got tough competition with Fabinho. He's still managed to keep him out the Brazil side, though. So it's going to be interesting. Of course, the Brazilian connection there in Fred. I suppose it'd be quite interesting to hear from you, Rafael. Just a few more questions from me. We spoke there about him playing with Modric and Kroos. Obviously, a couple of great midfielders to play your football next to and to have your career next to, more or less, as he has done. He's obviously going to be playing with Fred, McTominay, Eriksen, Bruno Fernandes. Just a slight drop in quality, just a slight. For you, what two? We know Ten Hag likes to play a 3. What 2 midfielders at United do you think he'll be slotting in with? Because personally, I think he'll probably play Fred and Bruno with him. But do you reckon Casemiro will also get the best out of someone like Eriksen too? It'd be interesting to see how Ten Hag goes with that midfield. What do you make of it, Rafael?
Yeah, I actually think that Ten Hag might play Eriksen next to Casemiro at times, depending on the football, depending on the match. So if he actually transfers in time to play Liverpool on Monday, so I could see Eriksen next to Casemiro in his debut match against Liverpool. There's no harder way to debut in the Premier League, but I think that he can handle the pressure. Of course, he can. So yeah, I think these two could actually play together, and maybe Bruno Fernandes, or maybe, of course, ideally Frankie De Jong. So yeah, it's a matter of waiting and seeing. And it's interesting that Manchester United didn't actually pursue Leandro Paredes, who is likely joining Juventus, and other promising footballers too. And in terms of midfield, of course, Frankie De Jong is not only the only midfielder that's available in the markets all of this time. Same thing about Matheus Nunes, who went to Wolverhampton. I think that he could have been an amazing signing for Manchester United. So I think that sometimes it's like the club is too narrow-minded in terms of its strategy. We have been seeing this for almost 10 years now since Fergie left. So there is of course the pursuit of Sergio Ramos many years ago, which you basically pursued him for a long time, and he just wanted a better contract with Real Madrid, and other players like that you keep pursuing and wasting months just for the players not to join. So I think that the transfer strategy has to be a little more planned out, so you don't just basically waste months on players that might not join the club, like we saw with Frankie.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And what about Frankie, Rafael? Of course, you're a Barcelona fan. You're also a Barcelona critic at the moment. I think most Barcelona fans are. I had something interesting today that was said to me, that if that De Jong deal does surface for United, they would put the money down for him and bring him in this summer. Can't see it happening because it would have to rely on De Jong forcing the move. What do you make of this whole situation with Frankie De Jong?
Yeah, so one thing that I really keep saying all the time is that people believe that Barca owes Frankie De Jong any money right now, but they don't. His contract is actually, his salary has been duly paid until today. And what he did sign 2 years ago was a larger contract until a longer contract too, until 2026. So basically, he agreed to receive less money for 2 years and then basically triple his wages and more until 2026. So basically, if he stays another year to Barcelona, he's going to make a lot more money than he did over the past 2 years. But if he doesn't, Barcelona does not owe him any money. So it's a really important point that I think that the English media has misinterpreted a lot over the past 2 months. So it's good for the fans to hear this and understand. So I really don't think that Frankie De Jong joining Manchester United is a matter of money too, because the club has the money. You can definitely pay him as much as Barcelona will pay him this upcoming season. So it's not really that of an issue. It's all about the player not wanting to leave, and it's because he love. Of course, Barcelona is the club of his life. We know for sure that he dreamt of playing for the club when he was younger, and of course he has bought a house in Barcelona. His wife, I think it's wife nowadays. I think he got married. I'm not sure, but it's basically his childhood sweetheart. Absolutely loves the city and the club too. And of course, the club is finally on the rise after many years in the dust. Honestly, so there are more than enough reasons for him to actually stay at the club at a personal level, and that's what I think it's getting in the way. I don't think it's about the joining the Champions League or jokes like of course, I made these jokes, but I really don't mean it. Like he watched the Manchester United and Brentford match, and then he decided he did not want to join the club. I really don't think it's about that. It's all about him just wanting to stay at Barcelona.
Why do you think United have dragged it out this long then? Like you said earlier on, like there must have been something that was sort of hinting to United that, that there is something possible that could happen here for them to chase it for so long. And obviously we're all still hearing positive things now that United would still pay up the money for De Jong if he did become available this summer. What do you think has kept this saga going on this long? Is it Barcelona keeping the deal open in case they needed the money, in case they hit some issues? Like I'm just surmising here, but what do you think has kept this going on for so long? Do you think this is something that maybe next summer, if United get Champions League football, would be a no-brainer for Frankie?
No, I don't. I don't think it's about that, because we have seen reliable reports that Manchester United actually trust Frankie, that Frankie wants to join them, and of course we have seen reports too from both the Barcelona side and Manchester United side that you actually have an agreement with Frankie De Jong's agents for the player. So I would say that the hardest things have already been agreed. Of course, the fee with Barcelona was agreed a month ago too. So I think this is all about something personal on the player side. Maybe there is something happening, something behind the player's decision that we do not know right now, and maybe it will leak in the coming months, or maybe it will leak next year. I don't know. Overall, I really don't think it's about the World Cup too. I saw some people saying that maybe he's fearing that he's not going to be called up for the World Cup if he goes to Manchester United and plays badly. But Van Gaal is not that kind of manager. He's definitely going to call up Frankie De Jong. So it's not really an issue. Actually, I think I overlooked that. I think Koeman is actually the coach again in the Netherlands. Sorry, but overall, I think both of these managers actually trust Frankie. So even if he didn't play a minute until the World Cup, he would definitely get called up.
It's an interesting few weeks ahead, though, I think. United still after a midfielder, a winger, a striker potentially, and also a right back and goalkeeper. They're in the market. They're looking. Obviously, we are yet to know what's going to happen before deadline day. But if one thing is for sure, Casemiro, by the looks of it, unless something last minute happens, is going to be a red. So just final words, Rafael. Do you expect to see him be a success? Let's not just branch out at Manchester United, but let's say in the Premier League, because that will really stamp his authority and legacy in the world of football, won't it, if he does conquer the Premier League?
Yes, so I'm not going to hazard a guess right now, because I still recall that when Jadon Sancho actually went to Manchester United, and I kept saying, okay, he could be the signing of the season. He's an incredible footballer, and I still rate him, of course. And then I don't know what happened to the guy. He simply forgot how to play football, how to score goals, how to assist. So I really don't know what's up. Maybe there is something at Manchester United that we are not seeing too. I think that the atmosphere inside the dressing room is still really bad. I think there are some disruptors that haven't left yet. I'm sure that you know the rumors that more than a single player was actually leaking things to the media. Maybe it was Henderson, maybe it was Lingard. We don't know. So overall, I think that it's really tricky to say because there are many factors outside of Casemiro's control that could actually hamper his first year in at Old Trafford. So it's really tricky to say. I'm not going to hazard a guess because I don't think that anyone can say for sure what will happen if he gets signed. And I say that for any signing that Manchester United makes, because you sign a player like Casemiro, you know what you're going to get. You sign a player like Frankie, you know what you're going to get. So even if you like, maybe if you had signed like half of Manchester City's team or half of Liverpool's team right now to Manchester United, I don't think that you could count on any of these players to actually perform because there are more problems inside Manchester United than we see on the surface. So yeah, tricky.
And there's more work to do in this window as well. Rafael, look, I really appreciate you taking this conversation from Twitter to a live chat, and it's been so respectful and lovely chatting to you, mate. I really do respect your opinion, and you've come on and backed up everything you said and had an open and honest conversation. So I really, really appreciate people who do that. So thank you for that, mate. And obviously anyone watching him right now, if they want to come and have a discussion with you about Casemiro, any footballer in La Liga, let's say, or even Barcelona, and find out some of your thoughts on what's going on there, where can they find you, mate?
Yeah, so you can find me everywhere on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Same handle on all three platforms, Rafael Age 117. You can find me there, and we can definitely chat about football, not only La Liga, but I love watching the Premier League, the Bundesliga. So absolutely, it was a pleasure being here, Ben, and I really hope that Manchester United get back on track because the club really deserves better than what we see nowadays. It's next year is going to be 10 years since Fergie left, and you haven't really gotten back on track. And the mess by the Glazers, the mess by the entire hierarchy, it's really tricky. Maybe you find a suitable buyer and move on. I really think that the Glazers would sell, man, because if they only care about profit, and we know that they only care about money, they could definitely sell for like 5 or 6 billion and make the profit of their lives and move on from it. So let us just hope it happens. But even if there is an interested party in Manchester United, it's definitely going to take at least 1 or 2 years for the sale to be completed. Of course, it's Manchester United, so nothing is ever easy about the club.
No, and ultimately, we all know that. I appreciate that, Rafael. Thank you. Lovely words. And for anyone out there who's watching right now, of course, we're talking about transfers. If you have a look on our social handles, I haven't done it today out there, but we've changed the colour of our logo in support of the protests that are happening on Monday, and we will be live from 6:30 with our virtual protest before the Manchester United game. As obviously fans gather at Old Trafford, we want you to gather with us online. We'll come and speak to as many of you as we can, and you can push your message via the fantastic world of YouTube towards our despicable owners, and that's the only way that I can sort of push it. Anyway, thank you, Rafael. Casemiro is going to be a red. Let's not forget the excitement of football. Let's not forget how much we love the club. Let's not forget how exciting it is that one of the best in class is joining this Manchester United side, and hopefully this is a start of something good under Erik ten Hag. Rafael, thank you again. Make sure you hit like if you've liked the video, share it far and wide, and also subscribe. Ciao for now.